This week on Good For You, friends don't let friends
eat their placentas.
Who's to say? If you want to do it, live, laugh, love, placenta encapsulate.
Hello and welcome to
Good For You.
Good for you, man. Good for you. Good for you.
Good For You, a podcast about the things we ghosted, the purchases that haunt us, and the best products, services, and industry happenings in the wellness, well-being, and spiritual space. We're going to give you a healthy little dose of fun. We're going to talk about the things that are happening in pop culture, the ones that got away, the things in our cart that are haunting us or ghosting us, our strong opinions
that are loosely held. We like to call this the Grex.
The group text.
The group text in your ear. So come say hello. Join us in the audio Grex, where friends don't let friends get scammed.
Hi, Wallace.
Hi, Michelle.
I feel like being someone who loves Valentine's Day is one of the purest things about me.
Oh, I love that. I was writing a card and I was like, I'm a cynic in most cases, but when it comes to love, I'm an optimist and a romantic.
Yeah.
I was like, that's facts.
That's why we get along. Because we're like, yeah, that sucks. And then we get hard eyes when we see the person that we love. Like, oh, they're perfect.
And then love. Well, I also feel like for people who are generally cynical, you think Valentine's Day could be the easiest thing to hate. But if you hate it, I'm like, I think you're just sad, which is fair. I've been there.
Totally. And, hating things is not a personality.
Right.
So I think it's not fun to hate Valentine's Day. You know what's fun? To love Valentine's Day. You get candy. You get gifts. You can dress in pink and red. I put Rhodes in a Cupid costume yesterday. I'm going to send you a picture.
Please.
Really cute. I like Valentine's Day. And maybe it's because I love February because it's a birthday month.
Yeah.
For you too.
Double birthday month.
Hey.
Okay, what did you get Ethan? Or how do you guys do Valentine's Day gifts?
Well, this is the first time Ethan's given me something for Valentine's Day other than my engagement ring. So.
Oh, okay. That's a good gift.
Which is a good gift.
But now you've trained him well. You're like, babe.
No.
Let's go.
He gave me condoms and lube.
Oh, he was like.
From Maud. I was like, okay, is this a gift for you? Is this a gift for me? But, I appreciate it. I appreciate the
You're
thought.
Like, sex positivity, this is good.
Yeah. And he wrote me a really nice card. And honestly, I feel like a mom, but all I really want is a nice card. I don't really need a gift.
I know. That's all you need.
Yeah. What did you get Josh?
I got him a massage at a massage place, just like a foot massage place. And then I got him, have you seen Marcel the Shell with shoes on, the movie?
Yeah.
I took him to that and I didn't expect him to like it so much, but I think it was his favorite movie of the year.
Cool.
So I got him a little miniature Marcel the Shell and it's really cute. It has like the googly eye.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah, it's really cute.
Sometimes, if I don't have a way to itch my itch, the only thing I can do is I just stand there, I just let it get me, and I just have to scream it out.
Speaking of traditions and gifting and rules for Valentine's Day, because this segues into one of the things we're going to talk about, do you feel like there's any rules for Valentine's Day that you feel like everyone should know?
First off, Valentine's Day can be February 13th, February 14th, February 15th. You can have overlap. So, like, if you forget a gift, you can totally give it on the 15th. That's fine.
I've never heard this before.
I'd say give people grace.
It's like a rolling,
Well, because not everyone celebrates Valentine's Day. And then if you are, like, confronted by your partner buying you a bunch of Valentine's Day gifts, and you're like, wait, what? I didn't know we were doing this. I thought, like, which is what happened to me and Ethan the first time we spent Valentine's Day together. Because I was like, I love Valentine's Day. And he's like, she's punking me. And then he woke up to, like, a table full of overflowing gifts. And he was like, I didn't get you anything. I thought you were joking.
He was like, this is for sure just a hoax. Mm-hmm. Except from the love extremist himself.
That's what I said. It's funny because he was a Valentine's Day hater until we got together. I know, so like off brand for him. But
yes.
I do think that you should give people grace for Valentine's Day because you never know if people celebrate or not, if they observe. And yeah, and most important thing is not like a flashy gift, but just, the sentiment.
100%.
And like give people chocolate when in doubt.
Exactly. I really like your extending your pre and post dates. I'm a fan.
I think the same goes for Christmas, except 2 weeks.
Yes, for
like same with birthdays. Like, yeah, you can wish me a happy birthday a week after my birthday. I don't care.
Okay, well, someone the other day said to me, Happy New Year.
Lunar New Year?
Right. Okay, I have had that where I know that they're saying Happy Lunar New Year, but this person was like, is it too late?
Honestly, if you haven't talked to them in a year since the new year began, it is a new year. There's nothing wrong with saying it. Who cares?
Yeah, I feel until the end of Q1 you're safe if you haven't spoken in the new year. And then after that, I don't know what you say. You just say hi.
Okay, this actually flows perfectly into the New York Magazine's new rules because there were so many about like talking, interfacing, being with other people that some of them I definitely believe in. Others I was like, I must be making faux pas left and right because like I do not subscribe to that rule.
No, I felt the same way. I felt called out by many. So this is, we'll link it in the show notes, but this is the new rules for social etiquette by the New York Magazine. So many things to say about this. I felt called out by many, but we decided we were going to share some of our top or problematic faves.
Yeah, I brought more than 3 to the table because I brought
so
3 that I was like, oh, I really like this. Yes, subscribe. And then many that I was like, I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know how I feel about it.
I have one that especially reminded me of you.
Oh, I'm scared. Okay, what's your first one?
Okay, my first one that I felt slightly called out by, but I was like, correct. Don't describe TikToks. It's more boring than describing dreams. I'm guilty of being, when someone's like, oh, I was having crazy dreams, I'm like, what about what? Because I am interested until they start telling me. And then you realize, oh yeah, this is like someone's drug trip. Or to the point of this article, like describing as TikTok, where you're like, man, really had to be there.
Yeah. Okay, fair. Although I did just have a dinner with some close friends and they were like, how come I like when people describe their dreams to me? How come we don't talk about our dreams more? I was like, this is an unpopular opinion.
So kind of them. I just feel that usually when people are describing dreams, it's like they're articulating them also for the first time. So they also make no sense to the person.
Absolutely. And they're like maybe remembering them as they're speaking them in, like, you know, but I think, okay, I'll put an asterisk next to don't share your dreams. If you're going to share your dreams, then I'm going to psychoanalyze them.
Yeah.
And like, I'm going to do it to your face. And if you're not cool with that, then don't share your dream with me. But if you're sharing it with me, I'm like, okay, let's figure this puzzle out together.
Yeah. So this is how you're fucked up. Let me tell you.
Exactly.
The writing is on the wall.
Exactly.
Okay. What's yours?
Okay. This one, if you bring up astrology and it isn't met enthusiastically, change the topic. Not everyone believes in your made up star bullshit. I'm like, yes and no. But I mean, like, yeah, if it isn't met enthusiastically, if someone's like, oh, I don't believe in that, then I think, great, yeah, of course, naturally set. What are you, like an astrology tyrant? Like, you're not going to force someone to talk to you about it. But if they're like, I don't know too much about that, then I feel like that's an invitation to be like, what, are you a Capricorn? Like, that makes total sense, you know?
Are you a Cancer and you just are having a bad day?
Yeah. I feel like bring up, insert anything here and it isn't met enthusiastically, change the topic.
Yeah, I agree. There could have been a better take on that.
It felt like astrology slander, honestly.
Yeah, I was like, clearly we know how you feel about it, dear writer.
Clearly, you're a Virgo. Okay, we get
it. Yeah, show your sign, why don't you?
Okay, what's your next one?
My next one that I also felt called out by was never answer a compliment with a compliment.
Oh, that was a really good one.
Oh, it's so hard for me. And I did it the other day to a friend. And I always mean the compliment that I return. Mm-hmm. Because I'm like, oh, this is an invitation to have a reciprocal complimentary conversation.
Sort of a compliment tennis, if you will. Just like rallying, volleying back and forth.
But it can also feel, I understand, disingenuous when someone is like, oh my God, you too.
When someone's like, oh my God, I love your sweater. And you're like, I love your nose. Like, what? It doesn't make sense.
That's definitely what I do. I always just comment on a body part right after. Okay, what's your next one?
My next one is, okay, I definitely subscribe to this rule. Make tipping your extravagance. Don't just give back your change. I upvote that unless you're at like a sort of shoppy shop you know, a place that sells like lots of things and also coffee, like little doodads, and you buy a bunch of stuff at the same time and your total is like $100 and then they ask you to tip 20% on that, but all you got was a coffee.
Insanity.
That's too much. We've talked about this on this podcast before.
Also, if it's for like a water bottle.
But then even then I'm like, well, the person standing behind the counter is selling me a water bottle. They probably need the tip. Come on.
That's true. That's true.
I can give $1. It can't be more than $4. That's 25%. I just feel like that's a good thing to do. Because if you've ever been in an industry where you rely on tips, you know that like a $5 tip versus a $1 tip can like change your day, can change your week. So, you know, if you got the
agree
means,
with that.
do it.
I always feel like I'm tipping too much.
No, that's impossible. Because you're also just doing money magic every time you tip. You're practicing generosity and also like it's going to come back to you. That's how I think. I mean, that's what I always say.
Maybe I need to think about that more instead of just being like, take it.
It's a little less altruistic because you're like, oh, if I give you this great tip, it will come back to me.
Yeah. I am doing this for self-interested means.
Exactly. What's your next one?
Okay, this one I had problems with. I felt many things about it, and I know you will too.
Okay.
If you like them, text people within 3 hours of hanging out with them.
I don't need to tell you how much I like you. I'm like, sorry, are you anxious attached? Or do you have low self-confidence? Like, what's your problem? I can psychically tell, if I said, oh, it's so fun to see you, I don't need to send you a text like 2 hours later saying, by the way, remember? I had a lot
doubling down. Well, this author said, if you didn't receive a text from me within 3 hours of hanging out, it would signal that I did not have a good time and I'm simply not interested. I understand that not all of my cohort follows this rule, but they should. It is rude not to confirm that a good time was had.
Oh my God, get some self-confidence, like, and get a life. I'm sorry. Not everyone thinks that way. Like, I've moved on.
Yeah. I was like, I think people are mostly just distracted and obsessed with their own life. They're not thinking about you, even if they liked you.
That sounds so exhausting to like be in that person's brain.
Yeah, I was like, oof, that's a harsh one.
So do you typically text people after you hang out with them within 2 hours?
I text them if I said I would send this to you, which often that's me being like, let me send you this article or this podcast.
TikTok. I told you about the TikTok. I'm just going to send it to you.
Yeah. Otherwise, not really.
Sometimes I'll be like, did you get home safe?
Yeah.
If they've come to me, but like if I host Shabbat dinner, I'm not texting every single person.
No, that's different because you're the host, which brings me to one of my other ones, just because it's related.
Okay.
If your host is doing the dishes, it means you're supposed to leave.
Yes, but don't start the dishes while people are still sitting down because that's
rude.
Party murder.
That's fair. So when is it okay to start the dishes as the host?
When everyone has finished eating, when there's been a bit of a refractory period. Some people have left. Once like your guests have started to exit, I think that's when it's okay to kind of like clear and start to do some stuff.
Fair.
Because some people won't get the hint, you know, that it's time to go.
Totally.
I have 2 rules based on that I really liked. The first one is tell your guests what time you plan to sit down for a dinner party, which I've learned you have to do, especially in LA. Like if I say Shabbat starts at 6, people will show up at 8:30.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, what? And if I'm cooking for you, I'm going to lose my fucking shit if I spend
that's fair.
hours in the kitchen and then you are an hour late.
That is so true.
When I was pregnant, this was my biggest pet peeve is when people would be like, yeah, I'll come over for dinner and be like, okay, I'm cooking. And then they'd show up like an hour and a half later and I was starving and I'd cooked. It was so annoying. So now I tell people we're eating at 8. We're going to start hanging out at 7. We're going to eat at 8. That's what I'm serving.
That's great. Love that directness because then you know there's no guessing.
Right. And then you can say, I'm making this. You're veggie, right? Or you don't have any food allergies, right? It's kind of like an easy way to check in and make sure everyone's cool.
Okay, that's fair.
Other one I really liked is always be the first one out.
Oh.
No matter what. Be the first one to leave as soon as you're like not having a good time.
Like, no problem.
Yeah. When things, it says you should be the first one to bounce when things go wrong for any reason. And I feel like that's right. Like in any situation, if it's like, oh, it got a little weird in here, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
That's a good exit strategy.
Don't be a lingerer. Don't be a stage 4 clinger, a hanger-on.
Don't be the one who's still in the kitchen while your host is doing the dishes or is yawning.
Facts.
Yes.
These are great etiquette lessons. Okay, my last 2 are don't ever message someone K, period.
Are you mad at me? Do you hate me? Are you plotting my murder? Okay.
There is a select few people who message me that every once in a while. And K is in the same category for me as sure.
Wait, I think I say sure. I never mean it passive aggressively. Like how I say it. You gotta picture it that way. Sure. Oh yeah, sure. Okay.
I guess I'm picturing it like my parents' passive aggressiveness where they're like, sure.
Yeah.
But like don't really want anything to do with whatever you just asked them.
Right. It is not sure. It is unsure.
And then the last one, which reminded me of you, is always wink.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. This is a good compliment. I dated someone in college who always winked, but he had a little bit of a lazy eye. So it was like kind of, he was halfway there all the time. And at first I was like, ooh, weird. And then I like adopted that. So now I thank you. It's mine now. It's my personality type now.
It's really great. I feel like Ethan has a bit of that energy too, but
Totally.
like you very much do. And I appreciate it.
You know what? I'm going to start winking at people when I'm with my husband just to freak him out.
Yeah. That's how to make any boring situation way more fun.
Last rule that I'm curious about is never show that you're impressed by anyone. It says the problem with being impressed by people is that it subordinates you and it dehumanizes them. And at first I was like, I just like that because I feel like it's a flex. Like, I'm not impressed by you, bitch. But also I'm like, okay, wait, that actually it is weird when someone's like fawning over you. Cause like, how are you supposed to accept that, you know?
I really like this one. It reminded me of two things. It reminded me of when you meet someone, especially I knew more of these people in LA who are quote unquote star fuckers. And they're obsessed with name dropping and they want you to be impressed by the people that you know or they know. And I think my family in particular, but Canada has the tall poppy syndrome a little bit from the Commonwealth where it's like as soon as somebody is trying to puff up their chest, everyone is ready to cut you down. So going to LA, I was always kind of like, I don't even know who these people are and you want me to be impressed by it. So I identified with this. And then I feel like something that is similar now that I notice is the way that people still talk about what school they went to.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know the colleges that my friends went to.
I don't know. It's so weird to me.
Okay, we get it. You went to Harvard. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
It's just so, I find it the most boring way to meet someone and interact is through those things. So I fully stood by that one.
Yeah, I'm not really impressed by people anymore these days in general. Like, I'm like, oh, if you're a cool person and you're fun, I think you're fun. But I'm not like, they are so impressive. Look at that amazing resume that they have. I'm so impressed.
It's way harder to be a cool person than have impressive credentials.
Totally.
You can rack up the credentials. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. You can totally trick people into thinking that you're cool by having a great resume.
But then you show up at a party and you're just asking everybody what they do for work.
Okay, so all in all, I would say these rules were interesting to go through. Don't agree with all of them.
It was a fun read.
Yeah, but it was honestly great to kind of test yourself. What side of this do I end on?
Definitely go and check it out.
All right, talking about our good for who this week. Good for you.
Good for you? Good for who? Good for you?
Wallace, do you know what a Borg is?
No. A cyborg?
So BORGs have...
How do you spell it?
BORG. They have taken TikTok by storm because Gen Z is obsessed with them. They make them in college. They're called blackout rage gallons. And when I first, like, this has come across my feed before, which I don't know what that says about me, but when I first saw these girls making them, I was like, I can't tell if this is good or bad. Basically, they add water, vodka, and then like some sort of electrolytes, like element, or even like caffeinated flavoring with electrolytes into this gallon jug. And then they put a straw on top of it. And it's like their personal drinking jug for the day when they like go out and party. Or
I was going to say, if you can afford Element in college,
you're living the dream life.
You're set.
Yeah. Yes. But they've gotten really popular, and millennials on TikTok, the discourse is like, wow, Gen Z really cares for themselves because they're taking better care of themselves. They're not like, drinking jungle juice out of literal trash bags like we did when we were in college. And I think this is just really interesting because binge drinking really reached its peak, it seemed, when millennials were in college. Like, think about all the caffeinated beverages that had malt liquor in them that people were like literally dying. It was so normal for people to get alcohol poisoning and go to the hospital. When I was in school, and I went to a city college. I didn't go to a college town college where people would tailgate. And I really think that binge drinking, especially for women, was normalized when we were in college. And we're going to look back on it in the future and be like, that was the worst thing that we could have possibly done to our bodies. I think that there are long-term effects, the same way that smoking is looked at, in the 50s and 60s, where it was so normalized and everyone was doing it, but it's the worst thing that could have happened. I just think it's so interesting that Gen Z is drinking less, they're having less sex, and even when they are drinking and being crazy, they're like, but I'm going to add electrolytes and water to this to make sure that I'm hydrated and I don't have as bad of a hangover tomorrow. I just think it's hilarious and kind of fascinating that they want better for themselves.
Well, also that it's branded with this harm reduction lens where it's it's also slightly healthy for me.
Right. Yeah, well, if I'm gonna drink and I'm gonna lose my shit, at least I'm gonna make sure that I'm drinking out of a gallon jug that's mine, that's not gonna get roofied, and I'm gonna have electrolytes in it, so I probably won't get alcohol poisoning. And when it comes to bad choices, I'm making better bad choices.
I'm so curious about this narrative of Gen Z drinking less, not to say that they're not, but how it compares with the amount of drugs that they're taking also. And this is interesting as I feel like my algorithm is serving up perimenopause stuff. And I'm fuck.
You're old.
Yeah. And I'm damn, I better stop drinking more than 2 glasses of alcohol a week because they're alcohol is the devil for women and hormones.
Yeah, it really is one of the worst things. But also, is all that news getting recirculated and upped by big alcohol, which is heavily investing in non-alcoholic beverages that cost the same as, Heineken Zero costs the same as a regular Heineken, but probably is way more inexpensive to produce.
Yeah, now you have to purchase the alcohol and the alcohol substitute and mix them together.
Yeah, seriously. I wonder if big alcohol is kind of pushing these narratives, because if they can tackle both sides of the market, they're the ones who win. It's good for them.
Definitely.
But who's this good for? I feel like in general, Gen Z is a little bit more aware. They're still making stupid decisions because that's what you do when you're a young person. But it seems like they have more access to more information and are, like I said, making slightly better bad decisions than we were. And I think that's a good thing.
Well, one of the things we've talked about on and off is whether Gen Z is actually doing more drugs, partaking in microdosing mushrooms more instead of drinking, or smoking weed more because it's more available instead of drinking. And I'm curious to see how that nets out over the next few years as this cohort graduates college and moves on. And because there are always these things about generations where it's millennials, blah, blah, blah. And then time goes by and you're oh, it's really not that different than the generation prior.
Yeah. I mean, there is more reporting that teen girls are the saddest and most hopeless that they've ever been. The CDC said that 57% or 3 in 5 teen girls felt persistently sad or hopeless. And that's the highest rate in a decade. And 30% of them said they've seriously considered dying by suicide. And that's a percentage that's risen 60% in the last 10 years. I wonder if that's because of everything that's happening in the world, or if we've also normalized mental health a little bit more, where it feels okay to be able to talk, you can actually talk about these feelings. Right. And it's just that people are reporting them more. I guess, we'll never really know.
Well, I also feel like it's always a combination of all of those factors. We don't want to be technologically deterministic and be it's social media, but at the same time, I think there's just so much more visible pressure on just your appearance and therefore mental health.
There's a lot. There's a lot.
Spiral.
Yeah, seriously. That got heavy. Do you want to talk about placenta pills?
Yes.
The time has come.
What the fuck is everyone doing with their
Placenta pills.
Are you keeping them? Where are you putting them? Are you just throwing them out? Or what's happening?
Placenta pills.
Are they a sexy unique scam? Okay, what did you know about placenta pills before I told you that I was going to be doing it?
I knew that you had to arrange it in advance and that you have to hire someone who will come and basically get your placenta from the hospital, freeze dry it, and then encapsulate it later. And that there are not that many people who do it, maybe more so in LA, but it's not that easy to find. And the hospital will probably try and dissuade you from doing it. And there's a lot of varying opinions, and I'm not sure about the efficacy of placenta pills helping postpartum.
Yes. Okay. I want to caveat this with, it is so hard to say like what you like, what you don't like, what works for you, what doesn't work for you as a parent, because you have a singular experience. It's not like I really tried it doing this without placenta pills living or
Right.
with, like I just know what I've gone through. And even if if you're a parent of 3, that means that you've only gone through this 3 times. That's not like a great subset. Like, that's not awesome data. So I'm just caveating with that. This is my experience. So I tried the placenta pills, which means I've been ingesting my own placenta for the last couple of months, and I have a lot of thoughts.
How does it work? When do you start?
So you can start as soon as, basically the placenta comes out. It's the afterbirth, and it's this organ that's been feeding your baby for, since they were in utero. And it begins to basically decay and break down as when your baby's ready to be born. So it still has a ton of nutrients inside of it. Everything that you were eating for prenatal nutrition is stored in the placenta. So it's really high in specific nutrients that you and baby could need. So once you give birth to it, you put it on ice and someone comes and picks it up, and it's fully an organ, dude.
It's so large.
It is so large. It looks like a slab of beef. It's so weird. To me, it was gross, even though it came out of my body. And we put ours in the freezer. We put mine in the freezer.
My mom did that too. I don't think she ended up doing anything with it, but
because I didn't get my shit together in time to find someone, and because you never know when you're really going to give birth. And I gave birth the day before Thanksgiving. It was tough to find a placenta encapsulator. This is also really expensive. I thought it was really expensive to do.
How much?
People ranged from $250 to $600 for a placenta encapsulation. So I did it, and there was various, I could get it dry encapsulated or wet encapsulated. There's a traditional Chinese medicine version that I ended up going with the one that you don't cook it. It gets dehydrated, because apparently you can cook it to get rid of bacteria. And that's a big red flag for people is, well, your placenta could have bacteria in it. It could make you sick. It could make your baby sick. If you encapsulate that, then it's not good. So I did it. I did the regular, they didn't cook it. And the lady dropped off my placenta for me, my placenta pills. She made a little heart image using my umbilical cord. It was so gross. I was like, thank you so much. This is disgusting.
Yeah, they're really gross.
And then she made a little heart and dried the umbilical cord and put it on the bag. And I was like, this what? I'm sorry.
I don't want this.
I'm weird, but I'm not this weird. And respect, that's cool. But if you're into that, but it was really weird to me. And she was like, yeah, so you can take these. Your husband can take them. Your friends can take them. So I was like, bet, absolutely. I'm going to make everyone I know take these.
Wait, it's not like you're dosing acid. What?
Well, she's like, they have so much nutrition in them. You're going to feel your energy. So what is it supposed to do? It's supposed to help your energy levels. It's supposed to help balance your hormones so that you don't get that huge bounce back after you give birth. So it's leveling things out. And it's anecdotally said to help with post-traumatic or postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, blah, blah, blah. So I tried them. I made Ethan try them. I made my friends Will and Leah try them. And I feel like for me, it was a little bit more placebo effect than actual effect.
Whatever. That shit works.
However, I do pee out vitamins when I take the placenta pills. You know how you can tell that you're because your pee's Gatorade yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens when I take my placenta pills. So I'm like, okay, there definitely is some nutrition. There's something in them. I just don't know if it's like really impacting me in a powerful way. But maybe I need to try again now that I'm out of the fourth trimester and my hormones are a little bit more balanced.
Right. To see if you notice a difference. But I feel like overall, it seems like other than it's been a long healing period physically, you seem energy-wise to have really like had a good postpartum.
Yeah. Well, I think I have an easy baby too. So we're still waking up a couple times a night, but we're like getting pretty decent sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had like definitely more anxiety, but I think that that's normal. And the placenta pills did not help with that. Although I do feel like a little jittery after I take them sometimes. And I wonder if that's placebo effect or if it's actually working. But I will say I don't really take them that often because this is really gross. Like when I burp, it's like.
Yeah, that was my number one question is what are you burping up?
It's like, it's gross.
Organs.
It's like yeah.
You're like, I'm burping blood.
I'm like burping up myself. It's gross. And I can't like think about it for too long because it just freaks me out.
Well, a lot of mammals eat their placentas.
Yes.
There's debate as to why they do it. Is this for nutrition or is it to cover up the fact that they just gave birth? So, are you trying to hide your kid?
Well, he's not on social media, so not no.
Not no.
Who's to say? I think if you want to do it, live, laugh, love, placenta encapsulate. Go for it. Do I think it's a magic bullet that's going to change your life and fix everything for you after you give birth? It wasn't for me, but if you want to hold that vision, like absolutely, you should do it. Do I think you should feel bad if you don't get your placenta encapsulated? Absolutely not. It's all good, dude. Do you want some placenta pills? I have them. If you need them, I can give them to you.
I will mail the rest to you. Just
my
let
placenta
me know.
encapsulator was like, your placenta was gigantic. I was like, oh.
This seems
Sorry,
to be
are you placenta shaming me right now? Like, what's going on?
That feels a little invasive. Like, what are you trying to say?
Yeah.
So rude. Body shaming, placenta shaming.
Well, she actually was hyping me up. She was like, oh my God, your placenta was giant. It was you have so many pills. Like, it's so great. I was like, oh, cool. Okay. Is that like normal? It's like based on height or something? I don't know why mine would be bigger. I'm only 5'2". She's like, no, I've met some women who had giant babies and tiny placentas and vice versa. Just, you never know, but you had a giant placenta. I'm like, okay.
Can you tell me more about this encapsulator? I'm intrigued by it.
She was great. I mean, she was lovely. She came and like picked up the placenta at our house and then she dropped it off for me and you know, she had told me all about the benefits. She also made me this tincture that she's like, you should save it for when you go through menopause. I'm like,
whoa.
Babe, you think I'm going to save? I can't. Like, I don't save leftovers 3 days. You think I'm going to save this tincture until I go through menopause?
Stick it in the freezer, I guess?
I mean, it's shelf stable. That's the power of herbalism, you know?
True.
She also said the baby could take the tincture for like when they're feeling sick. I don't know if I'm going to do that. It feels a little dodgy.
It's so interesting that we're like, natural sounds suspicious.
Totally. But I'm like, is there going to be bacteria in it? Like, Who knows? Because there's no regulations around this stuff. You're kind of.
Yeah, Wild West. What other services do they provide?
This lady is like, literally her name is like the placenta queen or something. Like,
I love it. Just straight to the point. Market it.
Yeah. And she wasn't cheap. You know, she was pretty.
She knows her clientele.
Highly regarded.
Like, yeah. LA babes.
She was great though. She was so lovely. And surprisingly, my hospital was really cool about us taking the placenta with us. They were like, okay, whatever. Do your thing.
Do whatever you want. Get that thing out of here.
Whatever. We were just going to toss it. So.
I wonder how many placentas they toss a day. That's gross.
It is really gross to think about.
Ew.
Is it a sexy, unique scam?
What's your verdict?
I think scammed by, but would still buy. Like, I do think it's a scam, but I think if you can do it.
Made you feel good.
Worst case scenario, you get it done and then you don't take the pills. Whatever.
Right. You said Leah tried it?
Yeah, Leah and Will.
What did they say?
I don't know if they noticed a huge difference, just like me, you know, but no. They weren't like, that was the most disgusting thing I've ever done.
They should be the control group, and you should redo this study.
I know. And then Ethan took them too, and he was like, I think I felt more energized. It's kind of like, I don't know, do I? But I feel that same way about coffee sometimes, where I'm like, I don't know if this made me more energized.
This is reminding me of the pills I just tried. The pills. The herbs I just tried, which we will talk about maybe next week on the pod. I just tried First Person, the mushroom supplements, and I have thoughts.
I also was gifted some mushroom chocolates from a company that has VC backing that I think is a competitor to First Person.
But psilocybin?
No, it's not psilocybin. It's another one. But Ethan took them last night, and he thinks he noticed a difference. So we're going to have to compare notes. Mushrooms, they're everywhere.
That's it for the episode.
That's it. That's all we got. Hope you liked it. I want to talk about Haunted Cart next week. Send us in your haunted carts.
Everyone, send your haunted cart.
And recap, in case this is the first time you're listening to this episode, which is a weird one. A haunted cart is what is haunting you that you've added to your online shopping cart, but you've never pulled the trigger on. You've just been thinking about it. Maybe you add it, you take it out, you add it, you take it out, you save it, you bookmark it, you add it to your Christmas list. No one buys it for you. All like Kate from Embedded. And you just keep thinking about it. So what is it that's just haunting you that you need to exercise for once and for all? Let us know.
Let us know. We'll investigate. Send it to us at Good For You Pod on Instagram, or you can write to us directly on Spotify, or you can join us in the Grex, our lovely community where we talk about all these things. And there's great chatter about what to buy, what not to buy, what to check out, what to make sure you're not scammed by.
Yeah, and join the Grex because we're going to bring back our user trials. So we will pick some lucky people to try out some products. We buy the products for you. You try them. You let us know how it goes. So get in there. Go get active. We're going to reward the people who are commenting the most.
What?
The ghouls.
The ghouls. Okay. Well, don't change.
Or do. Have a great summer.
Bye.
Bye.
Good For You is produced by yours truly, Wallace Miller Blanchard. Our theme song is by Parallel Dance Ensemble, and our wonderful editing is done by Softer Sound Studio, who you can find more information about at the link in our show notes.